The classroom felt smaller than it actually was. Too many eyes. Too many whispers. Lily sat beside him like it was the most natural thing in the world. Elegant, confident, untouchable. And Arif? Average face. Quiet aura. Background character energy. He kept his head down. He didn't want to feel like an animal in a zoo. He could already hear the silent thoughts. How did they match? Is he secretly rich? Did he trap her? Is this some bet? Lily casually placed her notebook on his desk, leaning slightly closer. Relax, she whispered. You look like you're about to run away. I prefer surviving peacefully, he muttered. But peace clearly wasn't on today's schedule. The classroom door opened again. A subtle hush fell. The male lead entered, and Arif's focus sharpened immediately. But he froze. There was someone walking beside him. A girl. Not the heroine. Not Lily. Someone else. She walked confidently next to the male lead, close enough to suggest familiarity, not just acquaintance. Comfort. Arif's brows furrowed. That girl wasn't supposed to exist at this stage. In the original novel, the male lead arrived alone, cold, distant, untouchable. He was meant to gradually soften after meeting the heroine. But now, he already looked connected. Arif slowly turned his gaze forward. The heroine was sitting 2 rows ahead, head slightly lowered, but her fingers tightened on her pen. Her expression hurt. That wasn't indifference. That wasn't stranger-level emotion. That was pain, which meant they knew each other before today. But in the novel, they childhood friends after school transfer, they grow apart. Their first meeting was on campus. So why are they acting like strangers? His mind started racing. Then something else caught his attention. The heroine wasn't sitting alone. Beside her sat a familiar face. Soft features, gentle expression, eyes that kept glancing at her subtly. Arif narrowed his eyes. Wait, elementary school friend, second male lead, the one who secretly loved her for years. In the original story, he only reappeared halfway through the semester. So why is he here on day 1? Arif leaned back slightly. Male lead with an unknown girl. Heroine already knowing him. Second male lead present early. Lily publicly claiming him. This isn't deviation. This is distortion. The plot wasn't just bending. It was rearranging. He glanced at the male lead again. Their eyes met, briefly, sharp, cold. Arif felt it. Lily suddenly looped her arm through his. Why are you staring at other girls? She said sweetly. Half the class heard it. Arif closed his eyes internally. Wonderful. Just wonderful. The male lead's companion glanced in their direction. The heroine also looked back. Second male lead followed her gaze. Invisible lines were forming across the room, like a web. And somehow, he was at the center. This was wrong. All wrong. Unless something happened before the timeline he knew. What if this isn't the original version of the story? What if the world didn't reset to chapter 1, but to an alternate branch? Arif felt a chill. If the plot has already shifted before day 1, then the knowledge he relies on might already be outdated, which means he's not ahead, he's blind. He exhaled slowly. All right, if the script changed, then he'll stop trying to follow it. Instead of reacting to the plot, he'll observe patterns, watch alliances, track emotional shifts. Information first, movement later. The bell rang. Class officially began. But Arif knew the real story had already started. And this time, no one knew the ending. Lunch break. The cafeteria buzzed with noise. Trays clattering. Students gossiping like it was a live drama channel. Arif quietly chose a seat behind the male lead's table. Not too close. Not too far. Just enough to listen. Lily had something important to do and walked off earlier. Heels clicking confidently across the floor. He heard it. The male lead was smiling. Actually smiling. Across from him sat the same elegant girl from the morning. Polished posture. Expensive aura. She spoke gently, but clearly enough for Arif to catch fragments. My dad said uncle is already discussing the engagement timeline. Engagement? The male lead didn't deny it. Instead, he said casually, after graduation is fine. Arif froze. The girl continued, I only transferred here because of you. Our parents already agreed anyway. father's best friend's daughter, came for him, going to marry after graduation. Arif choked on his water, coughing loudly. The male lead's eyes snapped toward him, sharp, suspicious. Arif forced a calm smile. Wrong pipe, he muttered, lifting his bottle casually before resuming his meal like nothing happened. Inside his head, chaos. In the original novel, the male lead had no fiancée, no arranged marriage. He was already promised to marriage with female lead. So what is this version? After lunch, Arif walked toward the classroom. He reached for the door and froze. Voices inside. He recognized them instantly. Trisha, Anne, Rahul. He stepped slightly aside, heart beating slower, listening carefully. Are you okay? Rahul's voice was soft, concerned. Trisha's voice trembled slightly. Rahul, he really doesn't know me. Silence. Then Rahul spoke carefully. You said his mom told you about the accident, right? Accident. Arif's fingers tightened slightly on the door handle. Trisha nodded. Yes. His mom said he had a car accident week ago. He forgot everything. Everything. Rahul's jaw clenched. So he doesn't remember you. Trisha's voice cracked a little. He looked at me like I was a stranger. Arif's mind exploded. Car accident. Memory loss that week ago. That week ago was when the original owner's personality drastically changed. When Arif transmigrated, which means the male lead also had an accident and forgot everything. That explains it. Why he didn't react to Trisha in the morning. Why their first meeting didn't spark. Why the emotional tension felt one-sided. Because for him, it truly was the first time. But for her, it wasn't. In the original novel timeline, they were childhood friends, separated, reunited at college. But here, they already met before, already had history, already had feelings, and then reset by accident. Arif stepped back slowly. This wasn't a simple plot deviation. This was parallel disruption. Both he and the male lead lost their original paths. One through transmigration, one through memory loss, which means the story doesn't have a stable anchor anymore. Rahul's voice grew firmer inside. Then I'll stay by your side, even if he forgot. I didn't. Second male lead activated early. Protective mode. Trisha sniffed softly. Thank you, Rahul. Arif closed his eyes briefly. So now the situation is male lead amnesia. Already arranged to marry another girl. Doesn't remember female lead. Female lead remembers everything. Heartbroken, but holding back. Second male lead, stepping in earlier. Emotional support role activated ahead of schedule. Lily, publicly claiming him. And him, standing outside the door like a glitch in the system. He exhaled slowly. If the male lead forgot everything, then his personality reset too. Which means he isn't the same cold, emotionally layered character from the novel. Arif opened the door normally and walked in like he had just arrived. Rahul immediately stepped slightly away from Trisha. Trisha wiped her eyes subtly. Arif pretended not to notice. He took a seat. Moments later, the male lead entered. Calm, unreadable. Arif slowly looked around the classroom. Trisha staring at her notebook, but not reading. Rahul pretending to focus, yet watching her from the corner of his eye. The male lead sitting quietly, unreadable, a person without his past. The fiancée laughing softly as she showed him something on her phone. Lily outside the window, talking to someone with that confident smile. He leaned back in his chair, and then he sighed. A long one. This novel is already doomed. Not because of him. He didn't interfere that much. He only tried to survive quietly. But the male lead lost his memories. The arranged marriage appeared. The second male lead entered early. Relationships shifted before the official beginning. This isn't deviation anymore. It's reconstruction. And the ones who caused the biggest changes weren't him. It was fate itself. Or maybe the male lead and the so-called villains. They reshaped everything just by existing differently. Arif rested his chin on his hand. If the core storyline is broken, then the tragic route tied to the original owner might also be broken. Which means the villain family bankruptcy arc? Uncertain. The bullying spiral? Unstable. The destruction ending? unconfirmed. For the first time since transmigrating, his chest didn't feel tight. For the first time, he wasn't calculating every breath. He let his shoulders relax. A small smile formed. He's free. Not completely safe, but free from a fixed death flag. Free from walking toward a scripted tragedy. The weight of the past week, the constant tension, the paranoia, the fear of triggering a scene, all of it slowly melted. He never realized how exhausted he was. He thought he had to fight the plot, outsmart characters, avoid key events. But now, there is no clear plot, no guaranteed ending, no pre-written execution waiting for him. He looked at his hands. Steady, alive. At least, I won't die like the original owner, he whispered internally. The thought felt unreal, light, almost fragile. For the first time, he didn't feel like a side character in someone else's love story. He felt like a person. The bell rang. Students stood up. Noise filled the room again. Arav stood too, but his steps felt lighter. Whatever this world becomes, it won't be the same novel. And maybe that's not a disaster. Maybe it's a second chance. Not just to survive, but to live. Still, somewhere deep inside, a tiny instinct warned him. Broken stories don't end peacefully. They evolve, and evolution can be unpredictable. But for today, he'll allow himself this small relief. Tomorrow's chaos can wait. Arav thought he was free. Maybe he was. Maybe not. Freedom felt real in the classroom, under the quiet ceiling fan, when the plot looked shattered beyond repair. But peace is fragile, and Lily was not fragile at all. That evening, after class, beneath the golden glow of the parking lot lights, Arav looked at her and said the words he never thought he would say. Fine, I accept. Lily blinked once. Then her smile bloomed slowly, dangerous and radiant. Accept what, baby? Your proposal. She didn't scream, didn't jump. She simply stepped closer, eyes locking onto his. Say it properly. He sighed. I'll be your boyfriend. That was the moment. The moment he stepped into a new arc. Their first date was at the shopping mall. Of course it was. Arav checked his wallet before entering. Regret. He had enough for street food and maybe one simple shirt. Not luxury stores. Not glass displays glowing like museums. But Lily walked confidently inside, like she owned the building. Maybe she did. She stopped at a boutique, lifted a black dress from the rack, and turned toward him. How do I look? You haven't worn it yet. Use imagination. He looked, and he imagined. Dangerous move. Good, he muttered. Just good, she tilted her head. Very good. She smiled and disappeared into the trial room. Arav stood outside, heart beating strangely. Other boys stared at him, some jealous, some confused. He felt out of place. When Lily stepped out wearing the dress, the entire corridor went silent. Black fabric hugging her perfectly. Elegant, sharp, untouchable. She walked toward him slowly. Well, he swallowed. You look expensive. She laughed softly. I am. She bought it, without hesitation. Then another one. Then accessories. Arav finally cleared his throat. Lily. I can't afford this. She paused. He forced himself to continue. I mean, I don't have that kind of money. I don't want you to expect gifts or branded things from me. I can't provide that. He wasn't angry, just honest. He didn't want silent pressure building later. Lily looked at him quietly, then stepped closer. Do you think I need your money? He didn't answer. She lifted his hand and placed it over her heart. I chose you, not your wallet. He froze. But, she continued softly, if it hurts your pride, then earn later. Grow later. I don't mind waiting. Her voice lowered. Just don't run away. He looked at her carefully. Obsessive? Yes. Possessive? Definitely. But in this moment, she was sincere. I'm not jobless, he said quietly. I just don't have luxury money. She smiled. Then we'll build it. That word again. We. It sounded heavy, but warm. She leaned in slightly. Besides, watching you get flustered is worth more than any brand. He frowned. I'm not flustered. You are. She bought 2 dresses, ignored the price tags, then dragged him to the food court. He paid for the ice cream. Small victory. They sat side by side. Not too close, but close enough. For the first time, Arav didn't feel like a side character running from death. He felt like a boyfriend on a normal date. Maybe freedom isn't about escaping the plot. Maybe it's about choosing your own role. Still, when Lily licked ice cream and looked at him with that unreadable smile, a tiny voice in his head whispered, "You didn't escape the story. You just entered a new one." The days that followed were peaceful. Strangely peaceful. Too peaceful. Morning classes. Light teasing from his sister. His mother calling him down for breakfast. His father reading the newspaper like nothing in the world could collapse. College became routine. Tricia stopped looking as heartbroken as before. Rahul stayed close to her, steady, dependable. The male lead remained calm, distant, almost neutral. His so-called fiancée visited often. But nothing dramatic happened. No public fights. No humiliations. No sudden financial disasters. No death flags waving in the wind. Even Lily was surprisingly normal. She still held his arm in public, still declared him mine, in a tone that made half the campus nervous. But she didn't push him about money, didn't demand luxury. Sometimes they just walked around campus after class, talking about nothing important. It felt real. Arav started sleeping properly, started laughing naturally, started planning small things, like part-time work ideas, like studying seriously, like thinking about the future without calculating survival odds. One evening, sitting on his bed, he stared at the ceiling. Maybe this world truly broke free from the original script. Maybe fate rewrote everything. Maybe he was finally just a normal college student. He smiled faintly. He didn't check the calendar anymore. Didn't count days until bankruptcy arc. Didn't observe every interaction like a spy. He let himself breathe. And the days passed. 1 week, 2 weeks. Nothing happened. Peace stretched longer than he expected. But peace has a strange habit. It makes you lower your guard. One afternoon, while walking through campus alone, he noticed something subtle. The male lead was standing near the administration building, talking to someone. Not his fiancée, not Lily, not Tricia. A middle-aged man in a suit. Serious. Strict posture. The conversation didn't look friendly. The male lead's expression hardened slightly. Just for a second. Arav paused. A faint chill brushed his spine. That look. That was closer to the original character. Cold. Calculating. Dangerous. Then the moment passed. The man left. The male lead adjusted his sleeve and walked away calmly, as if nothing happened. Arav stood there for a few seconds longer than necessary. Peace doesn't disappear loudly. It cracks quietly. He shook his head. Maybe he's overthinking again. Maybe not. That night, Lily texted him. "Are you free tomorrow?" "Why?" "Just asking." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, nothing. "Sleep well." He stared at the screen. A strange unease settled in his chest. The days were peaceful, yes, but sometimes peace is just the silence before something shifts. And somewhere deep inside, Arav knew. Stories don't end just because the first disaster didn't happen. They wait, they evolve, and when they return, they don't look the same as before. It happened too fast. 1 second, Arav was walking toward college, earphones in, thinking about an upcoming assignment. Next second, a black car screeched to a stop in front of him. The door opened. 2 men in suits stepped out. Not thugs, not random criminals. Bodyguards. Professional. Before he could react, a firm grip seized his arm. "What?" His words were cut off. They moved efficiently. No shouting. No drama. A cloth over his mouth. Door shut. The car sped away. When he opened his eyes again, silence. Soft leather seat beneath him. Air conditioning humming quietly. Not a warehouse. Not a dark alley. He wasn't tied either. He was sitting in the back seat of a luxury car. Opposite him sat a man, mid-40s, sharp features, impeccable suit, calm, intimidating presence. The kind of man who never raises his voice because he doesn't need to. Arav immediately recognized the aura. Power. Real power. "Awake?" the man asked. His tone was polite. That made it worse. Arav straightened slowly. "You could have invited me normally." The man's lips curved slightly. You would have refused. Fair point. Silence filled the car for a few seconds. Ariv's brain worked fast. Kidnapping in broad daylight. Professional bodyguards. Luxury vehicle. Polished businessman type. There were only two possibilities. Lily's family or the male leads. The man spoke again. My daughter has been spending a lot of time with you. Ariv's heart skipped. Daughter. So not the male lead. Lily. Of course. He kept his expression steady. Yes. The man observed him carefully. No panic. No sweating. Interesting. You are aware of who she is? Yes. And you still accepted her? Ariv met his eyes. Yes. A faint pause. The man leaned back slightly. Do you like her? That question was unexpected. Ariv hesitated for the first time. Like? Lily was possessive, bold, dangerous, unpredictable. But when he said he couldn't afford luxury, she didn't mock him. When he looked uncertain, she waited. And when he accepted her, her smile wasn't fake. I don't dislike her, Ariv answered carefully. The man's gaze sharpened. That was not my question. Silence. Then Ariv exhaled softly. Yes. It wasn't loud, but it was honest. The man watched him for a long moment. Then, he nodded once. You are not after her money. Not a question. A conclusion. Ariv stayed quiet. The man tapped his finger lightly on his knee. My daughter has never insisted on someone before. Ah, so Lily pushed this. Of course she did. If you hurt her, the man continued calmly, you will not disappear. The temperature inside the car seemed to drop. You will regret it. Clear. Direct. Not dramatic. A promise. Ariv didn't flinch. I won't. The man studied him again. Then, unexpectedly, he gave a small smile. Good. He signaled the driver. The car stopped. They were near the college gate. You may leave. No apology. No explanation. Just dismissal. Ariv stepped out. The car drove away smoothly. He stood there for a moment. Heartbeat steady. So, he wasn't free after all. He had stepped into a different battlefield. Not plot-driven. Power-driven. Lily wasn't just a girlfriend. She was the daughter of a man who could make people vanish quietly. Ariv looked up at the campus building. The peaceful days? Gone. Not because of the novel. Not because of fate. But because relationships carry weight. He adjusted his bag strap. If this is a price, he murmured softly, then I'll pay it properly. Across the campus entrance, someone had been watching. A tall figure near a silver car. Expression unreadable. The male lead. And their eyes met again. This time, there was no neutrality, only interest. The game had shifted. Again. After that day in the sports room, everything returned to normal. Ariv and the male lead walked past each other like strangers. No secret glances. No coded conversations. But now they both knew. And that changed everything. Herb, the shifted characters. Trisha, the female lead, slowly changed. At first, she watched the male lead with quiet hope. Then confusion. Then hurt. And finally, acceptance. She didn't cling. She didn't beg. She simply stepped back and started focusing on her own life. Clubs, studies, friends. Rahul never left her side. Not dramatic, just steady. And Ariv realized something important. The second male lead wasn't tragic anymore. Because he entered early. Because the script broke. He wasn't destined to lose quietly in the background. He had a real chance. And maybe that was enough. Puzzle piece, the broken plot. The more Ariv observed, the clearer it became. There was no invisible force anymore. No accidents pushing people together. No dramatic coincidences. No destiny glue. The plot wasn't steering them. They were steering themselves. And that should have made him feel safe. But strangely, it didn't. Because chaos without a script is harder to predict. Rose the real problem, Lily. If the novel no longer threatened him, Lily did. In front of his parents, she was perfect. Soft-spoken, respectful, helpful in the kitchen. His mother adored her. His father nodded approvingly. His sister teased him endlessly. Such a nice girl, don't mess up. But in front of him, different story. If he looked at someone for more than 2 seconds, she noticed. If a girl laughed near him, she appeared. If he replied late to a message, 3 calls. 2 voice notes. Point 1. Where are you? Her jealousy wasn't explosive. It was quiet, controlled, smiling, which was somehow scarier. He sometimes wondered, is this love? He didn't know how other men felt about obsessive girlfriends. Some might enjoy it, feeling wanted. But for him, it sometimes felt like invisible strings tightening. A beautiful trap lined with honey, sweet but sticky. Office building her family. After the kidnapping incident, they never touched him again. Lily's father even greeted him politely once at a restaurant. Kishore, still calm, not hostile, almost like they approved, which made it more dangerous, because approval means expectation, and expectation means responsibility. Ring the marriage bomb. One evening, while walking under campus lights, Lily said it casually, "We'll marry after graduation." Not maybe, not if. A statement. Arav stopped walking. That's early. It's perfect. I won't have stable income. We'll manage. You'll manage, he corrected quietly. She smiled. You're overthinking. He wasn't. He didn't want to depend on her wealth. Didn't want to become that guy. The man who married into money and lived comfortably, soft rice for life. Not working hard. Not building his own name. Objectively, it wasn't a bad life. Comfortable, secure, protected by power. Many would envy it. But something inside him resisted. He didn't escape a doomed script, just to become someone else's extension. He wanted to build something. Crescent moon, his real dilemma. He likes Lily, that's true. But liking someone is different from surrendering your future. She wants certainty. He wants preparation. She wants permanence. He wants stability first. Neither is wrong, but their timing clashes. And with Lily's personality, timing bends toward her. Arav looked at the night sky that day and thought, the plot isn't the enemy anymore. Love might be, or, at least, the version of love that doesn't leave room to breathe. That he exhaled slowly. If he refuses, she'll push harder. If he agrees, he risks losing independence. If he delays, she'll suspect distance. He smiled faintly. So this is my real challenge. Not survival, not destiny, but balance. Can he love her without being consumed by her? Can he build himself without losing her? Broken stories don't end tragically by force anymore. They end by choice. And soon, he'll have to choose.